All right, what's up guys? It's James here and welcome to today's video where we're gonna talk about how exactly to become a top 1% performer on Airbnb. This is where things get really fun. This is where you can add insane amounts of value to the clients that you work with. This is how you can scale up your income while also scaling up your clients' income, making them absolute raving fans of your business, is by just dialing in the tactics and the strategies that you need in order to become a top 1% performer on Airbnb. And this is something that I've done with multiple different properties in mind, properties that have been listed in magazines, properties that have become top 0.001% performers even in a city of Toronto, in a city of over 14,000 listings, tons of competition. I want to talk to you guys about the step-by-step, really break it down for you. Like, what were the steps that we took? What's everything that we did to be able to make those properties perform as well as they did? Now, before getting started, if you want just a full in-depth breakdown of all of this, you want to go into as much detail as possible, this video is only going to be about a 10-minute video, and down below you'll be able to access a free training where we go into absolute depth, where I break down, I show you the back end of some of my listings, I break everything down in detail, I go into all the little minutia, I show you around some of the listings and really just walk through everything step by step. So if you want access to that, you want like the gold standard training where we really go into all the nitty-gritty details, then just register for the free training down below. It'll be down in the description, it'll be down at the bottom of the page there. So just check that out if you want to learn more. As always, if you do like this video, if you appreciate it, if you get value from it, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, then please do take the time to subscribe here. We release new videos twice every single week. So if you subscribe, then you'll be able to check out all those videos where we help you just improve your performance on Airbnb and help you to further grow your Airbnb management business. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get into the details. What are the things that you need to do in order to make your properties perform at top 1% levels? How do you outperform the average host? How do you make sure that your returns are as high as possible and you're not leaving any money on the table with your properties, with your listings? So the first step, number one, is at the property level. So I'm going to go through this in a couple of different levels because really each one sort of builds upon each other. And what I mean by that is if we're going to talk about, I'm going to talk about things on the level of the property. How do you set the property up to make sure that it's optimized as much as it can be? And then we're going to move on to the listing. We're going to talk about how do you make sure that your listing is set up so that everything is optimized, everything is tweaked so that you're going to get the right amount of search traffic, you're going to get people visiting your page and actually booking the listing. And then we're going to also talk about pricing optimization. How do you make sure that your pricing is set up in a way that you're going to optimize your returns? You're not going to leave any money on the table. Now, the reason that I want to go through this step by step, and the reason I don't want you to skip till the end of this video, is because I know that most people are most interested in the pricing optimization piece of it, and understandably so. It is a lot of fun. You can get some incredible results by properly adjusting your rates and optimizing your pricing. However, if you have a crappy listing or you have a crappy property, it's not set up properly, it doesn't have the right amenities, the listing isn't set up quite right, you don't have the right description, the right headline, the right photos, then it's not worth anything. It's like putting NOS on a bicycle. Like you're not gonna actually get any additional power out of that because you don't have the right foundation built for it. So the place you really want to start is with your actual listing. The number one thing that I would say is just make sure that your listing is set up properly, that it's got all the amenities that guests are going to be looking for. Now, this is going to vary from listing to listing, from place to place, depending on what type of guests that you attract typically to your property. There's going to be different amenities that they expect. You want to make sure that your place has all the amenities that guests expect, and ideally a couple of bonuses. That's one of the great things that you can do, is really focus on adding different bonuses to the property. And you don't just want to go ahead and add anything. Like getting that 4K TV is probably not going to actually give you an ROI. You're probably going to spend a lot more buying that brand new TV than you're ever going to get in additional bookings. But there are nice little amenities that you can get that are going to give you an insane ROI. You know, upgrading that coffee maker for some people is going to get you X amount more bookings, and it's going to 10x your return on your investment in that silly little coffee maker that you got. Different little things you can do there. So just make sure that your listing is fully stocked with all the basic amenities that people are going to expect, and then all of the kind of nice to have amenities like the coffee maker, like the charging cables for people's phones. That's a big one. Like Netflix so that they can access it, or some kind of some way that they can connect their computer to the television to stream movies, stream TV, that kind of thing. Making sure your property setup is the most important thing. And then in addition, the one thing as well that I'll mention that you don't want to overlook is things like making sure that your property has easy check-in. It's got automated check-in without any kind of need for you to meet them in person. Those sorts of things are really nice to have set up at the property so that your guests are going to have a really good experience. Next, after that, is optimizing your listing itself. Now, to optimize the listing, you want to make sure that number one, the most important thing is you have to have perfect photos. I don't mean you have to have good photos. I don't even mean you have to have great photos. I mean you need to have perfect photos. Photos are the number one lever that you can pull to increase the power of your listing, increase the performance of it, make sure you're earning as much as possible. If you have at all subpar photos, then you're already leaving a ton of money on the table. And so if you want a full breakdown again of like all the standard practices for like a full system for how to light the shots, what angles to get, exactly what shots to get, how to stage the shots, then again, all that is in the free training down below. But at a high level, basically what you want is you want to have a variety of different shots from a variety of different angles that showcase your space as well as some different amenities in your space. So rather than just having one single shot of the kitchen, you want to have a multiple number of different shots in the kitchen to show the different amenities like the stove that you've got or the coffee maker you've got, some of those more close-up angles. And you want to mix those in with other shots of the kitchen as a whole and make sure that you can see how the kitchen flows into the other rooms so that people can get a good idea of the layout. If you have a picture of the floor plan of your listing, that's also really great to include. And then you want to do that for basically all the different areas inside the house and the areas outside the house as well that guests are going to have access to. So if they're going to have access to a backyard with a patio with a nice barbecue, you really want to make sure that those are nice and set up and staged and then presented in your photos. Now, you'll notice that I mentioned that the photo should be staged. You want to make sure that your listing is set up, it's fully deep cleaned, and it's set up for photography, meaning that everything is perfectly folded, no tags are showing, the towels are in the right spaces, the soaps are all full, every little detail should be taken care of. And you also want to stage it with different kind of mood setting shots is what we call them, so that the potential guests I should say, can envision themselves in the space before booking. This can be things like leaving out a newspaper, leaving out some fresh fruit on the kitchen table for the photo shoot, things like that. They're going to help the guests actually envision themselves staying in the space. Now, the most important photo is the cover photo. You have to make sure that you nail this, and it should showcase and highlight the number one feature that's going to attract guests to book. So if guests are typically booking your space because it's got a great office space, that's what you want as your cover photo. If guests are typically booking your space because of the outdoor room that you have, that's what you want as your cover photo. If it's mostly due to the beautiful, chef's kitchen that you've got, again, that's what you want as your cover photo. You might want to try playing around with this and see what works best, but ultimately that cover photo is going to largely dictate the click-through rate that you get on your listing, meaning out of how many people that see it in the search results, how many people are actually going to click on it and actually visit your listing page. And so that cover photo is exceptionally important, and the next most important thing is the rest of the photos that follow, because that's the first thing that guests are going to check out once they actually get to your listing page. Now, another thing that's really important is the headline. So the headline, the actual title of your listing, is again one of those few things that's actually going to attract guests to book to click through from the search results on Airbnb to your specific listing. And so you want to make sure that again it's highlighting some of the selling points of your listing, the things that guests are most interested in. If you're in a great location, don't just say great location. Say close to downtown, or close to the park, or close to whatever it is that your listing is close to. Don't specify neighborhoods, because people that are traveling there might not be familiar with different neighborhoods, so it might mean virtually nothing to them. You want to say why that area is great, what amenities that they care about is it close to. And then you want to also just highlight some of the core features of your listing or what it's great for. If it's a great romantic getaway, you might want to include that in your title description as well. Now, the next most important piece is going to be your actual listing description, the details of your listing. You want to make sure this is really, really well organized so that guests can grab any of the little bits of information that they need without a whole bunch of time spent searching through and sifting through paragraphs of information. The worst way you can do this is having one big solid block of text. Having paragraphs is slightly better, but paragraphs still require the visitor to read through a whole bunch of the page to try to figure out what's going on and if your listing has the different amenities that they're looking looking for. The thing that we recommend, the thing that I think is the best way to set up your listing description is to have bullet form lists, maybe a quick little intro at the beginning, but basically also just to have bullet form lists so that you can see in each bedroom or each room of the house what amenities it has in sort of a highlight reel fashion. So if someone wants to know if you have a gas range stove, all they have to do is go to the heading called kitchen, look under the bullet points, they don't have to read a whole paragraph, and they can see that there's a gas range stove listed there. If they want to see if the master bedroom has a king size bed or a queen size bed, they just really easily go to the section of that description that says master bedroom and see that it says there king size bed. So that's going to just help the people to see exactly what amenities that you actually have in your property, and it's going to make sure that they're able to just easily book the property, having all their questions answered. By the time that a guest is looking at your listing description, it's important to realize that at that stage, now they're into the point where they just want to answer their questions so they can go ahead and book. If they don't get all their questions answered, they're going to do one of two things. They're either going to message you asking for those questions to be answered, and that's going to further delay them booking, or they're going to pull up one of those other tabs that they probably already have open with someone else's listing, and if their questions get answered on that listing, they're just going to go ahead and book that listing. So you want to make sure that as seamlessly as possible in as short time as possible, meaning they don't have to message you back and forth, guests can get all of their potential questions answered. And that's what you really want to focus on in the listing description, giving them all the tools they need to answer the questions that they have, and then go ahead and book your listing. Now, the third thing that you can do to optimize your listing's performance, make sure your top 1% performer, is pricing strategy. This is a thing that most hosts get completely wrong. They're nowhere even near where they should be. And the telltale sign of this is that you're either underbooked, meaning that you just don't have enough bookings, and that means that your pricing is too high. Typically, obviously, if you have your listing set up poorly, if you don't have the right photos, that can lead to the same thing as well. Or that your listing is just booked out for 2 months solid into the future, or a month solid into the future. If you have a 100% occupancy rate or 98% occupancy rate for a month into the future, then I've got some really unfortunate news for you. It actually means that your pricing is too low. If you look at hotel companies, they aim for about an 80 to 90% occupancy rate, and that's at the end of a month. Typically maybe about 95%, 99% in the high season at the end of the month, but certainly a month further out, you're going to look and you're going to see closer to 70, 80, 90% occupancy rates. And the reason being is that 100% occupancy rate does not mean that you're getting the optimal return. You know, if you have your property listed at $50 a night and you're booked all month, that's just even to pricing it if you have it listed at $100 a night and you're booked for half of the month. I'll say that again. You're in a worse situation to have your property fully booked at $50 a night than to have it half the month booked at $100 a night. Why? Because at $100 a night and having it half booked, you're getting the same amount of money in your pocket as if it's booked for the entire month at $50 a night, but you also have a whole bunch of open nights that you can then go and leverage. You can lower the prices on those if you need to, and you can make sure that you get those filled up and have even more money in your pocket at the end of the month. Now, again, the system for how to use that, like hotel companies literally have data scientists that they have on their teams, making sure that their pricing is always optimized. So it's not necessarily that it's that complex. I'm going to tell you right now that you don't need to be a data scientist. You don't even need to be good at math to optimize your pricing on Airbnb, but you do need to know the right system. It's not super simple to just, quickly go and explain, but it is very, very easy to implement once you actually know what you're doing, once you learn the system and you have the right tools to be able to do it. So again, if you want access to all of those tools to be able to optimize your pricing, dial things in, and really get your listing to explode in performance, then just check out the link to the free training down below, access that free training, and we're gonna go through that in detail. And again, like I said, I'm gonna show you the back end of some of my listings. I'm gonna show you exactly how I do it. And we're also gonna give you a whole bunch of different tools and templates that you can use to set up your listing properly, to set up your property, all that stuff. Again, just check out the free training down below. So once you've got those three things really dialed in, you've got the property set up properly, you've got the listing set up properly, and you've got your pricing strategy really dialed in, now suddenly you're going to be outperforming everyone else in the market, because none of this stuff is exceptionally difficult to do. All of it's really quite simple to do, but the reality is that very, very, very few people actually do one, let alone two, let alone all three of these things effectively on their listing. Airbnb is notorious for having a whole bunch of amateurs and a whole bunch of people that don't really put the time into it that they ought to. And so, really just powering through that pack of people and coming out to the top of the listings in your area is generally quite an easy thing to do. Now, it's not to say that it doesn't require any effort at all. It's just to say that the competition is normally not very stiff. The competition is normally quite easy to beat if you know what you're doing. So again, I hope this video has been really, really valuable for you. If you want more detail on all of this and exactly how to do this step by step, then just check out the free training below. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel here, please subscribe. And let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Let me know if you have any thoughts. I look forward to seeing you in the next video that we're going to be talking about more things about how you can improve your performance and how you can grow your business managing properties on Airbnb. I'll see you in the next video.